What's up, y'all? Cash here, and today is my favorite day of the week, which is SBD day, so squat, bench, deadlift. So I'm going to go ahead and get running through that. And while we go through that, I'm also going to talk to you about some home gym essentials for powerlifters specifically. All right, first up, we're going to start with the squat. Now, for the squat, you're going to need a squat rack. It doesn't have to be a cage. I prefer the cage, but it can be 2 uprights and safeties. You want to make sure that there are safeties included. The rack that I have, including it has a pulley system that's an optional, cost about $400, so not super expensive. If I were redoing my home gym, I would not get this specific squat rack. Like I said, I got it on Amazon, fairly cheap, but it does the job. It's just that I don't like the holes, and there's not too much customization that you can do to it. So it's a fitness reality rack. I would probably steer away from it. There's some better options that are price friendly that you can use, but the one thing that I really do like is the cable pulley system that attaches to it, and that's plate loaded. So I've used it up to, I want to say, like 150 pounds, and it hasn't snapped. So pretty solid so far. Also, bar. So there's quite a few different bars that you can use. I prefer to use a power bar for both my squats and my deadlifts as well as bench. I like the Texas power bars, so that's what I have up here. For deadlift, and we'll get into that equipment, I use a Rogue power bar. No real difference, just different brands had different sales going on. So this is it's a blemish bar. So it only has like minor cosmetic issues, but it is cheaper than an original one. Same with my Rogue, it's a boneyard bar. So cosmetic details, like no big issue. Just go ahead and get that and save some money. Let's squat. When it comes to plates, I started off with just some cheap bumper plates for 45s. So I had 2 pairs of 45s, and then I have just a set of 255 iron plates. Get the weight that's equivalent to what you plan to be lifting. I recently upgraded to calibrated plates just to give myself a little something fancy. You don't need those. I don't need them, but I wanted them. But starting out with the basics, I've got these fitness gear plates that I started using, and I was using them for about 2 years, along with some Rogue bumper plates. So you really don't need anything that's super expensive, super fancy. Search on Facebook Marketplace, see what you can find, and go from there. It may not seem like a big deal, but make sure you have a pair of flips. And I recommend using them on squat and deadlift, not so much bench, because if you're working out at home and you're working out alone, you want to be able to dump the bar safely when you're on bench, so you don't want to clip it. But on squat, clamp them. Clips, weights slide when you're lifting maximum loads, especially. They tend to, you might be a little uneven, so I've had times where the plates have slid on me. I completed the rep and they didn't fall off, but it's a scary feeling, especially when you're on the re-rack, to have the plates sliding. So these are my favorite. I have a couple pairs, but these are magnetic, so stick there. They will stick to the plates, and then when you put them on, they'll hook and stick to the plate as well, so it's just a little bit more secure. Now on to our working sets. Alright, so before we move on to bench, I will say kettlebells, not so much essential, but dumbbells for sure are essential. If you work out by yourself and you don't have to share, then I would suggest that you use what I have back here if you can see them. So I have some adjustable dumbbells that go up to 50. And when it was just me doing the weight training, that was fine. But as my wife started weight training too, we realized that sharing one pair of adjustable dumbbells just wasn't going to work. So we have, this is the 5 to 25, which is essentially her stack. And then we have the 30 to 50, which is essentially my stack. I don't really use the kettlebells as a power lifter. I'm sure some people do, but personally for me, it's not going to be like a key essential item that you need. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready for bench, and we'll talk about bench essentials. All right, now bench. If you are a competitive powerlifter, you plan on competing, one of the main things you want is to make sure that your bench meets the specs for the federation that you're competing in. So I have a non-adjustable bench that I use to bench with. It meets the IPF specs because I compete in Powerlifting America, which is the IPF affiliate. So it meets their specs as far as height, width, and length. If you have the squat rack that I do, it doesn't sit in there nice and perfectly. You gotta do some wiggling, some adjusting to get it lined up neatly. If you have a rack where the bench sits in there nice and neatly, more power to you. Like I said, if I could redo my home gym and start over, I would not get this squat rack. So I would have some form of a combo rack. I might do that, but since I just bought these plates recently, I'm not willing to spend another $1,000 on one home gym purchase. All right. So, yeah. So, done with the bench, moving on to DK deadlifts. One of the big things for deadlifts is knowing what bar the fed you compete in uses. So I use a power bar because, like I said, that's what the IPF uses for deadlifts. I used to compete with USPA and they used a deadlift bar. So over here on the wall yonder, that is my Texas deadlift bar. I have not used it since I switched feds because, train as you fight. But if you compete in a fed that uses a deadlift bar, I suggest you get familiar with using it. I've seen people get surprised by the amount of whip, so they end up failing deadlifts on the platform because they're not used to using a deadlift bar. So I know specificity, right? But know your equipment, know what you're using. Flooring. You can see that I have different flooring here. So I have my little puzzle pieces, cheap, Amazon, whatever. No big deal, that I use for everything except for where I deadlift. So where I deadlift, I used to use bumper plates, so I would still deadlift on the puzzle pieces. I have a lot of puzzle pieces that are super janky because of the bumper plates. Once I got my calibrated plates, I went and got a horse stall mat from Tractor Supply Company. So it is 1 inch thick, protects the floor, and I only deadlift on that to protect my garage floor. So if you're going to be deadlifting with actual steel plates versus bumper plates, I suggest you get a horse stall mat, at least one, or a deadlift platform. But those can run you, upwards of $1,000. So this mat cost $50. Why not? Not necessarily essential, but I have 2 deadlift jacks here. They were $20 each. So I use them both on both sides. You can get away with one and just doing it each side separately, or you can get away with using a small plate and just rolling the weights onto it to kind of elevate it. But that's what I use. Not necessarily an essential, but a benefit for sure. Yeah, so let's deadlift, and then I have hip thrusts, and that'll be it for the day. Well, for lifting. Alright, so deadlift's done. Before I get into my last exercise, I'm going to show you all the last few things that I believe are essential. As powerlifters, we all go through like bulking and cutting phases, right? Unless you live somewhere where the climate is absolutely perfect all the time, you're going to need a cardio machine. Now, we have Pelotons. You don't need that. Just a simple treadmill, simple bike, something that you can get on and move when the weather's not cooperating and you can't go outside and get your steps in. Or something to kind of do as a active recovery day. So I prefer the bike, but I will get on the treadmill. So I did do the treadmill yesterday for an hour. Showed y'all my deadlift bar. This is like all of my other accessories that I use. So I have my little dip handles. I do believe you need those. Dips are very good when it comes to strengthening your triceps and getting bench going, and getting past those sticking points. I have 3 different types of resistance bands. So I have the like tubes, I have the booty bands, and I have I like to call them the PT bands because that's what I use in physical therapy. A dip belt. If you're going to be doing dips, pull-ups, you want to progress them and get it to a weighted point, you go ahead and use those, or use that dip belt. And an easy bar. Now you see my easy bar, the handles are like super, I won't say sharp, but they're not like kind of, anyways, it's a very pointy thing. I wouldn't suggest using that. I made the mistake of buying that and it's very hard on my wrists to use it. So I suggest making sure you get one that's kind of like has shorter peaks, I guess I would say. Kind of longer and has shorter peaks in order to do that without really any damage to your wrists or like wrist pain. And second to last but not least, you always want to have a gym companion. Hi. And lastly, so I showed you my bench press bench. This right here is what I use for my actual accessories. So right now I'm about to hip thrust. So I use it like this because I'm a short king. And then I just put it down. This is my adjustable bench. The seat adjusts and the back adjusts. I put the back down one spot below flat. And you'll see how I do it. But it's very hard at my height to get on it if it's horizontal, get my shoulders up there. So I use it this way and it works just fine. Pretty sure I didn't miss anything. Yes. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get my hip thrust done and that'll be the end of the video. Use your gym companion wisely because this one is very needy. Oh yeah, if you're hip thrusting, make sure you have a hip thrust pad because it won't be fun. Alright, I'm gonna go. Alright, so that's the video. Thanks for doing my SBD day with me. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you on the next one.